And that's when he texted me that he was gay.
Huh?
Before we bought the house, we had started fighting about things pretty consistently, mainly about work, and how work was really messing with our personal relationship. Neither of us were happy. For every single production, I slapped a smile on my face and prayed and hoped that he wasn't going to be mean to me during recording, as he was always mean, and then he would apologize afterwards, promise that he wouldn't be like that anymore because he really wanted to do everything that he was doing with me. It was very consistent that I would take his apology, put the problem under the rug, hope that it wouldn't happen again, but it continued to happen over and over and over again. I didn't even realize how unfulfilled I was regarding my joy and happiness in life until I found this little dog on Facebook Marketplace. And when she came into my life, dude, like, that feeling of love, like, it just filled all of the space. Fighting continued to ensue. It got to a point where I was just so nervous all the time, like walking on eggshells around him. I didn't ever want to upset him because then something would blow up and he would get very exasperated and upset. My body just goes into this fight or flight mode that I can't even describe very well, but luckily some therapy that I've been taking has been helping me really decipher and figure out like why I acted the way I did. What I should have done when he was mean to me repetitively is walk away and stand my ground and hold my boundaries and keep them set, but I didn't. I let him walk all over me. But opportunities continued to come our way. Brand deals, awesome collaborations. We were still so freaking unhappy whenever the freaking camera went off. And sometimes when the camera was on. And I have several editors I've worked with in the past that have literally told me that they saw how mean he was to me through video footage. And even friends of mine through collaborations that have said, I remember when we shot this, and this, and he was so mean to you during that production. For some reason, I just didn't even notice because I was so used to him being so freaking mean to me all the time, and my goal was always, let's finish this production, it's gonna be okay. So we got this great opportunity to be on billboards in New York City and Los Angeles. And right when we got to the hotel, he was so angry at me about a USB cord not being where it needed to be in order to charge his phone because it was dead, that he reamed me out in front of a hotel clerk. That exact day, we went up into the hotel room. I told him, we're breaking up. I can't be with you anymore. It's over. And he told me that the business was going to be over then. How is it going to work? And I told him, I said, when we get back from New York, we need to get therapy, we need to get some business consulting, and we need to figure this out because I didn't want to and he didn't want to destroy the business just because we couldn't be in a relationship anymore. So from that day forward, we were no longer dating. That was February 2022. He made me promise that I wasn't going to tell you guys that we broke up. He even didn't tell his family that we broke up until a year after that date as well. I couldn't help myself because I can't live in falsification. So I told my mom, I told my brothers and my closest friends that I'm not in a couple with him anymore. We weren't making each other happy on a personal level. He already was supremely mean, but at this point, he got even meaner. He even told me that he doesn't have to be nice to me because we are just working together. He started saying over and over again that he wanted to quit. And I continued to beg him not to quit and gave him so many reasons and examples and projects and things that we're working on and inspirative things so that we could continue to grow and work on this brand together because we had so many partnerships, so many opportunities with what we created together. So a year later, around May 2023, him and I tried to figure out a way to create a mass amount of content together in a quick amount of time based on the fact that we really didn't enjoy being with each other anymore so that we could be more efficient with our job. So we decided to plan a trip to Korea and Vancouver along the way. Right before this trip happened, we had another blowout argument and I told him that this behavior is not okay and I'm not going on this trip to Vancouver with you unless we have a contract that says that we're gonna be nice to each other while we're overseas. And at that moment in time, he agreed to doing that. So I said, okay, I'll take the time and go write it up, which I did. To that, I provided to him a day and a half later, to which he blew up at me again and said he would never sign such an agreement. And to that, it notified me that there might be some other problems. So I realized we needed an entire business plan. Like, what if he actually does quit like he keeps saying that he's going to? What is going to happen with the business? So I created a business agreement as well that defined literally what would happen. Later on, I realized that it wasn't as thorough as it could have been, which would have actually helped out in the legal matters, which we'll be getting into shortly. I provided him this other agreement, to which he flipped out even more. I'm not going to Vancouver or Korea with you unless you sign it. I don't feel safe on that trip. It's not going to be for me. So after several days of him saying no, he finally signed it. He told me that if I ever bring up anything about the agreement again, then he's gonna have an issue with me. Unfortunately, that's something that I accepted, and we got on a flight and went to Vancouver. We spent 3 days in Vancouver. All of that footage has never been shared. We went and shucked oysters. We tried the first ever California roll with the chef that invented it himself. We tried McDonald's, freaking Canada, and much, much more. Those videos may never ever see the light of day. Let's just call it lost footage. His behavior did not change at all during this trip. He was mean during every single production, made me very freaking upset, and it was incredibly hard to film under these conditions. On the third night, I decided I freaking had enough, and I told him. I said, I am going to leave Vancouver. This trip has to be canceled. I told him he can go by himself. It's fine. He can go film videos. And he said, well, maybe he would do that. And I said, okay, that's great. I just started to organize my way out of there. So the next day, I left. He booked a flight himself and ended up on the same exact flight on the way home. After all that's been said and done, he's gone around lying, saying that I never told him I was going to leave Vancouver. And I never told him that we were going to cancel the trip. That's not true at all. After Vancouver, I didn't feel safe in my home anymore. So I started staying at a friend's house, editing shorts, keeping the Instagram, TikTok running, editing long format content, doing thumbnails, thinking of different creative ideas and approaches, proposing them all to him, working on brand deals, the book, the merchandise, everything. And he decided he wasn't working anymore. July 4th, my mom said she wanted to come visit. And I told her, I said, well, I'm not staying at my house right now. And she said, well, we can stay there. It's your house. And I said, well, it is my house. You're right. And remember, JP doesn't live in this part of the house. He moved into the mother-in-law suite where the studio is, where the arcade garage is, which is all of these very expensive add-ons to the home that I didn't agree on. $50,000 for the arcade garage, $100,000 for the pool, $30,000 to change every light switch into a camera. He just continued to buy stupid stuff that I never freaking agreed with, but I could never tell him no, otherwise he would freak out. I lived in fear of him. Like, I always just wanted him to be happy. Like, I just didn't want him to scream at me or get mad or like freak out. So my mom convinced me to go back to my house with her when she came to visit. And she came with her fiance at the time. My mom happens to love pickleball, and so does JP. So I did the nice thing and invited him to come play pickleball with us. To that, he said, of course I'll go. And then on the way back in the car, I told him kindly that I had a meeting with the book publisher for the book that we're publishing together that day a few hours from then. And I asked him if he was going to be available for the meeting, and he said no. And I said, oh, are you busy? I mean, it was going to be a 15-minute long meeting. It wasn't a big deal. And right there and then, he said right in front of my mom and my mom's fiance at the time that he doesn't want to work with me anymore. He doesn't want to be any part of healthy junk food. So my mom told me later that evening, Julia, he really did quit. Just write a letter accepting his resignation. So that's exactly what I did. Just emailed it over. And that started some chaos that I did not expect. I told him, that's totally fine if you don't want to work, but I'm going to work. So I'm just going to need to get equipment out of the studio because that's where we kept it all. That's where we organized all of our business equipment. And he told me, that's fine. You can come in an hour or whatever. I was just affirming, I'm going to go. I'm going to come up and get it. And then he kept postponing me grabbing the equipment. And I just didn't understand why. So some time went by, and then my phone got an alert that I got locked out of the mother-in-law suite where all of the equipment is. That just made my heart start to pump. I'm just like, why in the hell is he not letting me work? And I told my mom, and my mom was like, well, don't you have access to the garage door? He told me initially the reason why I couldn't go and grab the stuff was because he wasn't going to be in town. And I said, well, if you're not going to be in town, I need the equipment first. When I got the alert that I got locked out, I went over there, opening up the garage to see him. I was like, I didn't even know anyone was going to be here. So I apologized, and then I was like, but I gotta grab my stuff. And then he started to get a little bit aggressive with me. My mom came up the stairs with me, helped me grab some things, and we went back to the house because we were planning on shooting a video that day. One of the pieces of equipment that I had with me was the film phone, which is a third phone or phone line that him and I bought. That way we could have an extra iPhone to film a third angle while we make videos. I needed it to film my video. It's right here, actually. This is it. See? There's an angle. That's me filming a KFC. So now my mom and I are actually having some fun making a recipe, and then all of a sudden there's a knock on the door.
I'll let you get it because of the dogs.
Is it the police?
It's the cops.
Well, stay.
You can come in. I have 2 dogs.
Are they good?
Yeah, they're good. They're just goofies.
Alright. How can I help? So, JT?
JP.
Oh, JP.
Yeah, he's my ex-boyfriend. He's my baby together.
Okay. Something about a phone. It's a film phone, and it's something I use to record, and I need it because I'm working, and he hasn't been working.
We're filming
and he
right
gave
now.
it to me yesterday because we're filming right now. I'm actually recording audio right now, just so you know, because I was just filming, but I recorded. I just turned off the cameras because we're making strawberry ice cream. We have a goofy little YouTube channel. Okay.
The cops advised me that I had stolen his personal phone and he needed it back right away. And I told him, I said, it's not a personal phone, it's a film phone. If it was his personal phone, how did he call you? And they were like, oh, that's true. Right away, they said it was a civil matter and there's nothing that they could do. So they went out and they talked to him. And they came back in saying that he had another phone that he wanted to trade this one out for. And I said, that could be fine if he does have the same quality equipment, I would happily exchange it. But he did not. And the officer told me, just delete everything off the phone and I'll let you keep it. Technically, I didn't even have to do that, but I wasn't trying to argue with the lady. I deleted everything off the phone. The officer left. I was obviously very upset and heated at this point. My mom witnessing all of this, I was feeling absolutely terrible, but I was also so reluctant that she was there with me during this moment. Later that day, I got a notification that all of my credit cards were canceled. So I called up the companies, they turned them back on, gave me mobile ones, and mailed me new ones. And I actually cut him off of my credit cards because for some reason, he was in charge of my credit cards. That evening, my mom was supposed to leave town. I begged her to stay one more night because I wasn't feeling safe or comfortable. Somehow I got to sleep that night. In the morning at 6 a.m., I went to the gym to come back to a notification on my phone that I was locked out of my home. Yeah, I'm not talking about the mother-in-law suite. I'm talking about where I lived. He didn't even live there at all. For the last year. The entire house was smart. The door locks were electronic and all under his personal email. Same with all of the Ring apps as well, for all of the cameras on the house. So he changed the password through his email so I had no access to the home. What he didn't know was that my mom was in the home. She let me in. And after some deliberation, we realized we had to change the locks so that I could have control of entering and leaving my own house. So my mom's fiance went to Lowe's and bought new door locks. And that's how JP got locked out of that part of the house. Because I wasn't stupid enough to give him the key after he locked me out in the first place. My mom had to leave that day. I didn't feel safe anymore in the house. So I left, I went and stayed at a friend's house. Then I started to get very harassing texts from him. He told me over and over again to prove to him that nothing was on this phone, which I already did prove to him. And he told me that I needed to log out of any email that was connected to any account that he had, including Final Cut and Photoshop, which I needed to work, but I couldn't purchase new programs at that time because he had canceled all my credit cards. And I was waiting to get new ones, which was gonna happen in a few days. It's obvious that he was hiding something on here that he didn't want me to see, but I didn't really expect anything, plus I had deleted everything. And that's when he texted me that he was gay, which is something that he's also acknowledged to several other people, if that's true or not, way before I ever mentioned it. Therefore, he's outed himself. I still don't know if he really is or not, but trust me, that would explain a lot. And I even told him, I support you, whatever you want to do, whoever you want to love, I'm happy for you. Like, I don't want to fight. July 31st comes around and he goes on the community page and posts this whole blurb about how he's going to move on and that I'm going to be running the channel. I had no idea that he was going to be posting that. I happened to be at my mom's, chilling out for the weekend, and a couple days later, I go to log in and the password's changed. I didn't have access. I had already been locked out of my own house. My credit cards were canceled. The cops were called on me. Now I'm locked out of my own work. And I started to freak out again, to be honest. I realized, after I started to calm down, that I had a USB key that could get me back into the email. So I used it and changed the password and was able to regain access. So I used my key, regained access, changed the password, and I wasn't stupid enough to give him the key because then I would never have access again. I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but I'm pretty sure that he wasn't gonna let me back into my own work. And that's how he got locked out. I never intended on locking him out of absolutely anything. He still had access for the entire month of July after quitting, calling the cops, canceling my credit cards, and locking me out of my own home. And the business social media pages are the only thing he's gotten locked out of. He still has access to the bank account that he continues to spend money out of, and he still has access to many business accounts that I need access to run this business. But that's part of why we're in a legal battle now, to organize the business appropriately. He hasn't turned over those passwords to this day. Oh, and I forgot to bring up, on July 5th, I received an email from his attorney that he retained saying that I needed to respond regarding the business concern with either an attorney or myself. Since he lawyered up, I had no choice but to get an attorney. So over a month goes on and we're just trying to organize, split up assets, figure out a fair adjustment to what's going to happen with him moving on and me continuing to work. And JP would just not cooperate. And he would consistently text me when we had attorneys involved and we weren't even supposed to communicate. He did offer me a deal though. He told me that he'd pay me $20,000 and I could keep the business. I said that might be fine, but I just wanted to see all of the financial statements that he was not showing me regarding our investment accounts. That way I could review, and if it was fair, I would agree. And then he messaged me back saying that that's why we have attorneys involved. And that's when shit hit the fan. And he started lying and lying and lying, making up all kind of crazy stuff about me and saying it all over the internet. I was scared. I was a rabbit. I was running away. I was thinking that he would just stop one day. I would actually say that's one of my biggest faults at this moment. So JP's online lying about me, saying incredibly crude, terrible things, while I'm trying to get a book published with his name on it, while I'm trying to get merchandise created and promoted and sold, while I'm making videos, running all of the social media pages. And after a brand partner meeting, he was advised to help promote the merch because he still owns 50% of the business and said he needed to join the meetings. And to that, he responded with this picture that he posted on social media with his ass out. That's what he did, making a disgrace of the business. Needless to say, that company is no longer contracted helping us with our merchandise. Also because of his efforts, we lost our agent, and all of his lies has created a ton of hate that has devastated this brand. The views on this channel have already been down for years and years while JP and I worked together. Now, even more is working against it. So during all this time, we're still trying to work things out between all the lawyers. So I decided to dig a little bit deeper into the financials. I noticed some very, very big questions that I did not know the answers to. Where did all of this money go? Well, what I realized was a lot of the funds went back and forth into his personal investment accounts, back into the business, back and forth, huge expenditures on things that were not business, that are not agreed upon. I don't want to say any name specific, but he gave a lot of money to a lot of people, and he spent a ton of personal money on his business credit card every single month, and then had the business pay it off. If we were talking about just $1,000 here and there, then we wouldn't be having this conversation, but I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. The reason why I didn't know this stuff until now is because he always told me that I wasn't good at math and that I should work on the brand deals and work on productions and do other things and focus on what I'm good at. That way we could be successful in the business. So I never did financials until he told me that there was no money left in the business and that we had to figure out how to save money. So in trying to find ways to save money, I started to realize that a lot of money was missing. And I'm not trying to brag or anything, but we made a lot of money in our heyday. Like a good amount. Finally, in November of 2023, my attorney and I had had enough. JP had gone on to Google, changed the bank accounts information for the payouts for Healthy Junk Food and Healthy Junk Food Shorts and JP and Julia LLC to go to his personal bank account, which I flagged quickly. And then he also sold our business car, took all of those funds to buy himself another vehicle in his own name. He even made a video about it, making a joke about it.
My plan now, to sell my Model 3 Tesla and upgrade to the recently discounted Model X.
He took all of our merchandise that I could have used.
I want to show you what we're going to be giving to Goodwill right now. Oh, that's right. Aprons and mugs. It's going to be hard to say goodbye to you. Yeah?
Is this sweatpants?
Yeah, there's some more sweatshirts. Oh, man. The end of an era.
And he continued to tell lies all over social media, declaring that he did not quit when he did, declaring that I cheated when I didn't, with a very bad joke that for some reason nobody gets, and also saying that I stole the channel, which I never stole it because he still owns 50% of it. So my attorney drew up a lawsuit, said we're gonna kick him out for his bad behavior. I wasn't trying to take anything from him. He still owns half the business. I have to pay him for that. But I own half too. So I have to protect my half. And he quit, and he's going online saying all this stuff about how he didn't quit, which is just hurting the brand even more. At this point, I'm so traumatized because of all the lies he's been spreading about me and the business that I forgot that I wrote up that acceptance resignation letter, which I could have used when I first got the lawyer, but now it's just helping now. So he got served, unfortunately, a day before Thanksgiving. In January, he filed a response with so many more lies that I was absolutely stunned to read. He claimed that I threw knives at him on a stage at a comedy show filled with people, but nobody saw it. A person that does that should be arrested, and there's got to be a picture or maybe a knife somewhere. Like, what the hell is that? He said I went to a trip to Asia by myself spending business funds. That's not true. Check my passport. We actually never made it to Asia. He has since amended his lawsuit, doing away with all of the claims because they're all lies. I have since amended my lawsuit as well, adding defamation because of his claims about me cheating, which is false, and stealing, which is false. During all of this, we're still paying out of the business a very expensive mortgage and HOA and all of these home fees, plus a loan on a pool that JP needed to build where there's a hole in the backyard because of all of these issues with the build out of it. So there's no way that we can rent the house because of liability, and nobody's gonna rent a house with a half-finished pool. And he also never tried to get it rented himself, nor did he try to finish the pool. I continued to go back to the house to make sure it was clean, to make sure the lawn care was set appropriately, to make sure that pool got built. Once it was built, selling it is just the best thing to do. Owning a huge piece of property with someone that you can't communicate with is not a good idea. Luckily, the house sold pretty quickly and we split the profits 50-50. After thinking about it, I realized that the main reason why JP's been telling all of these lies is because he really wanted me to quit so that I didn't find out about all of the funds that he's been taking, because you would think that he would be happy if I'm continuing to work when he owns 50% of the business, because technically half of the funds that I bring in are his. And still to date, I haven't paid myself any wages for an entire year. Every single trip that I've gone on, Uzbekistan, Spain, Jamaica, Greenville, I've paid out of pocket personally. I'm still creating content which is making money, and JP gets to take 50% of that. Also, he continues to take money out of the bank accounts every single month for his personal bills. So I noticed he's continuing to complain about needing access to the Dropbox. So I decided to dig in there a little bit. I noticed that there are lots of additional accounts that I did not have access to, including a PayPal account where thousands of dollars of sponsorship funds were paid to. I have no idea where any of that money is because I didn't even know the account existed, and I'm still trying to find access to it so I can figure it all out. And he's withholding all of those statements, and that's what's happening right now in the court case. We're trying to get him to provide financial statements and access to accounts like PayPal so we can track the funds, so we can finish a litigated valuation of the company, so we can figure out a fair split. Just so you guys know, the PayPal accounts and monies there has nothing to do with the original claims of missing funds, because I had no idea that those accounts existed. When him and I bought this car that I'm driving right now, it was because we were both sharing a vehicle after we had already broken up. He didn't tell me that he bought this car in his own name. Should have been in the business like the other vehicle was, because the business pays for this vehicle. But it's a trend. He wanted control of everything. So a year or so went by and I had to renew the registration on this car. That's when I noticed it didn't have any insurance. I found out later on that JP actually canceled the car insurance on this vehicle without telling me, so I had been driving around without car insurance for a very long time. Luckily, the other policy on the other car was prepaid for a full year, so I was kind of covered. Since the purple car had a prepaid policy, I canceled that to get a refund. I didn't realize that JP had transferred that policy to his new personal vehicle because those funds belong to the business. And that's how I mistakenly canceled his car insurance policy. This car, I went ahead and I put insurance on it and I paid 100% out of it out of my personal pocket. Again, haven't paid myself in an entire year. He's paying his personal car insurance out of the business account every month. So this brings us to today. The lies freaking won't stop. I'm getting harassed on the internet consistently. There's a lot of wonderful people out there that are like, you don't have to explain yourself. We're here for you. And then there's a lot of people that are like, you're a cheating, lying, stealing thief. I hate you. Go die, kill yourself, just quit. A lot of me says the hate is going to be the fuel to keep pushing me forward. But a lot of me says, why even freaking do this? But I'll tell you why. I love making videos. I love creating content. I love theater. I love stage. I love production. I love movies. I love writing. I love food. I love cooking. I love travel. I love sharing stories with people like you. And you know what? I'm not freaking stopping. Healthy junk food is a part of me. It's something that I created since inception. Like I told you from the beginning, this legal matter is a huge freaking hiccup in the storyline of where healthy junk food is going to go and where it's going and where it is right now. It's a little bit of a standstill. And just to let you guys know, every single thing that I've accused JP of, I have an abundance of proof that I've already provided through a discovery to JP's attorney, where he also has access to all of that. Now, I haven't received a single document from him regarding anything necessary to move forward or to back up any claims he's made. That's how the law works. We have to give each other proof of the claims we make. You can't prove it, it's not true. Like my lawyer said, you can speak up. Because it's not defamation if it's the truth. I've realized throughout all of this how important it is to me to communicate to you guys what's going on. That way you know the truth. Because if someone else tells a lie and no one else speaks up, how could a voice be heard that never speaks? In the March 2024 filing from JP, he admitted to resigning and that I accepted his resignation. So he's been knowingly running around and lying for a year. I've been posting in the community page, and you can go through and see evidentiary text messages and information to direct you straight to the legal matter. I'll also post that information in the description of this video if you want to follow the case, because it will be resolved at some point, hopefully sooner than later, and you guys can see, it'll all unravel. It has to. I mean, once it's wound up.